Being a dream driver means eliminating all fear and all self-doubt that you have and pursuing whatever it is that you want to pursue without sabotaging yourself. Like just actually allowing yourself to think good things. Like instead of thinking I might fail, think, what if I win? You know, what's going to happen if I actually accomplish this goal, show up for myself and do all the things that I want to do? What's that going to look like?
Dream drivers are out here killing it, and I can't wait for you all to hear from this week's guest, Shauna Hollinger. She's a longtime listener and the creator of the Instagram brand and page Black Vegan. Shauna is going to school us on how she's mastering social media and using it to fuel her dreams. She's a full-time employee and a busy mother of two, but she also creates meals that are simple, easy, and plant-based. And in just 10 months, her online following has grown to over 16,000 from zero. But you know what? She didn't think when she started out that she would become so popular so quickly. And she's going to talk about that journey today for you all. Shauna also recently launched a course called Thrive on Instagram, where she lays out everything that she has done to increase her following organically. And what I love most about this episode is you are going to hear from a dream driver, a listener just like yourself, about how she was able to take her dreams from park to drive. We talk about this a lot on the show, but I think this episode is going to give you an insight into what it's like to be on the ground, running and making your dreams a reality. And we also flip the switch at the end of the episode, and Shauna asked me some questions about my own path and my own journey to date. We have a few announcements as always. If you love this episode, please make sure you are sharing it. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you can find us at Dreams and Drive across the board, and make sure you're using the hashtag Dreams and Drive. I love it when you guys are posting and screenshotting to social media, so continue to do that, especially Instagram stories. We have a giveaway of the week this week as well. I partnered up with Simone Green of Notebook Cosmetics for her Dare to Be You campaign, and we are going to be giving away one of their chubby lipstick pencils in the color Rebel. And in the Notebook Cosmetics campaign that I'm part of, I'm going to be talking about how I am being bold, how I am expressing myself, and how I am living out my passion. So you guys make sure, if you want to enter to win a Rebel chubby lipstick pencil from Notebook Cosmetics, go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win. Also, follow Notebook Cosmetics on Instagram and visit notebookcosmetics.com. Simone is a fellow dream driver like yourself, so you'll love learning more about her story. So every now and then, I like to recommend different podcasts that I think are really, really good for dream drivers to listen to. And this week's podcast recommendation goes to Jamila Souffrant of Journey to Launch. She also was our episode 181 guest. Jamila is a podcaster, a blogger, a money coach, mom of 3, a wife, and the founder of JourneyToLaunch.com, where she shares her journey to reach financial independence and help others do the same. The podcast is all about this. She brings on guests, and they talk about different topics such as saving, budgeting, investing, wealth building, entrepreneurship, early retirement, and more. A favorite recent episode of mine is episode 78, and it's all about tips and strategies that can help you on your journey to financial freedom. I think that getting hold of your finances is extremely important as a dream driver, so make sure you check out Journey to Launch. You can listen to it wherever you listen to Dreams and Drive. And you can also visit journeytolaunch.com if you want to explore all the resources that Jamila has on the site. All right, let's hear from Shauna.
Hello, Raina. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on your show.
I'm excited to have you on, but first of all, I want to say thank you. So, you were somebody who pitched to be on the show, and I looked through your pitch and I was like, yes, I have to have her. I loved everything that you said. And the thing that really made me smile is that you said Dreams and Drive has helped you along your own journey. So whenever I see that, it's always like this moment for me to remember that, wow, like your words and you telling the stories of other people are really having an impact, to people that you wouldn't even have met, so I'm really thankful.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely were a huge inspiration, and, just you're part of the reason why I'm doing anything, trying to figure out ways to monetize and become an entrepreneur. I mean, your podcast was very helpful for that. So Thank you.
Thank you. Do you remember the first episode that you heard of For Dreams and Drive?
I don't remember the first one, but I just remember that, you were kind of, I think you had just started, and then the one episode that I do remember is when you interviewed the people from Empire.
Oh, the Power. Yeah. No, Power.
Power. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God, she's doing it, she's actually doing it, and she keeps going, and she hasn't quit. And it just kind of seemed like there were some times where, you would get frustrated or you might doubt yourself, but you kept doing it. And that was really inspiring to me.
Thank you. I feel like that's the theme of my life, right? I have this persistent doubt, but I keep going. I'm a hustler, but at the same time, as you may know, when you're building anything, I think the unknown is always the scary part. So keeping yourself motivated and keeping yourself consistent, that's been the biggest thing for me, is just making sure, although I may feel unsure, I'm still showing up for myself, because that's the one thing I can control,
Yeah.
So let's get started. You know how I like to start all the interviews is going back in time, Shauna. Would love to know, what was inspiring you as a child?
Things that inspired me was music. I love to read books. I love to just be by myself in my room, writing and listening to music and just all kinds of stuff. That was really where I found my happy place, just kind of being alone and in my thoughts and dreaming about whatever I wanted to do. So that was pretty much me. I mean, I'm very much an introvert. And so, I was always in my room. My parents would have to punish me by making me come out of my room. That was kind of how much I was always in there. So yeah, reading and just, reading and writing basically were my passions at that time.
What was the dream for you back then?
It's funny because I didn't really have big dreams. You know what I mean? My thing was always just kind of going along with the regular plans of life. You know what I mean? Going to school, graduating high school, then going to college, and then getting a 9-to-5, and then that's it. You know what I mean? Get married, get a house. And that was typically the limited scope that I had. And I was not a risk taker. I didn't want to do anything that would cause any kind of uncertainty. So my whole plan was, I wanted a job where I could at least make $50,000 a year. And that was it. Mm-hmm. That was literally it for me at the time. And I thought that was making a whole lot of money.
Where did you grow up? Just to, just so I could put a location on the early Shauna.
I grew up in Olathe, Kansas. In the suburbs. It's a suburb of Kansas City, which I live now. I live in Kansas City, Missouri.
Did you have any strengths or passions, though, as a young person, as an adolescent? Because although you may not have had these big dreams, looking back, were there something that you were really good at? I was really good at, I loved music. I played the saxophone. I can't sing or anything. I can't, I'm not a great dancer or anything like that, but I really appreciated music, and I really appreciated the arts. I'm not artistic though. So that's the thing. I had all of these passions that I loved and all of these things that I wished that I could do, but I didn't know where my strengths really were in those. Okay. It was just I had a lot of things that I liked, but I didn't really know what I was good at. So did you end up, going to college and getting the degree and kind of building the life without having these big dreams? Take us through those years of your life.
Yeah, I went to a community college. I actually was going to become a sign language interpreter because I know sign language. One of my good friends is deaf, and she taught me sign language. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll be a sign language interpreter. And, I tried to finish getting that certification, but I ended up getting pregnant, and it's actually a very intense certification to get, and you really have to devote a lot of your time to it. And I just wasn't able to do that at the time. So I decided to, put that on hold. And then I was like, I'm just going to get my general studies degree. I'm just going to go ahead and get my 4-year degree, because I ended up, getting employed with the government. And so I was like, okay, well, I got my job. I'm good. I made it. You know what I mean? And that was pretty much it. So I wasn't really, a person to
try to go out and get like a doctor's degree or become a lawyer or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to get my 4-year degree and get it out the way, just to say I had it and then use it for whatever other job I tried to apply for.
So knowing that where you are now, so you are plant-based, you're vegan, at that point, was health part of your life, or were you, was it something that came in later?
Yeah, I ran track in junior high and high school, and that was pretty much the extent. I just really did not care about, I didn't care. I was like someone that would eat McDonald's like 3 times a day. Like, I was not the type of person that really cared about what I was eating, because, when you're in track, you're burning off all those calories. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So by the time I got out of high school and went to college, I wasn't doing track anymore, but I was still eating the same way. And so I ended up gaining weight. It was like every year I was gaining about 10 pounds. And it just got to the point where, I wasn't like super overweight or anything, but I was having health issues. I still was struggling with a lot of different health issues. And so what got me thinking about it was, there was a book called, it's by Dr. Ian Smith, called The Fat Smash Diet. And after I had my son, I saw a picture of myself and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you have blown up.
Pre or post baby?
This is post baby.
Okay.
I started off at 145 and I ended up at 198 in my ninth month of pregnancy. And my doctor was like, what are you eating? Because I had gained 8 pounds in 1 month at one time. And she was like, you have to control your food intake. And so that's when I started making the different switches from like white bread to wheat bread, and started drinking almond milk instead of cow's milk and things like that. And then when I read the book, The Fat Smash Diet, the first phase is almost like a plant-based phase in a way. And when I did that, I ended up losing 7 pounds in the first 9 days.
What? Just by switching your diet?
Yeah, just by switching over to a majority plant-based diet. I think you could still have egg whites at the time. If I'm not mistaken, I think you could have egg whites in that first phase, but everything else was pretty much fruits and vegetables. So I was like, okay, if I can eat unlimited fruits and vegetables and that's, and that works and I'm losing all this weight, then why not? And then, and also I was healing myself when I was eating that way. I knew that eating plants versus eating all the other stuff I was, all the box foods that I was eating, I knew that was actually healing me. I had also bought a book, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was a holistic book, because I went to so many different doctors, and it's almost like they're quick to prescribe you medication instead of hearing you out and trying to help you figure out how to eliminate whatever issue you had or to prevent having those issues. It was just like, oh, let me just give you a pill that you're going to have to continually take. It's like, I don't want to keep wasting my money. Just what do I need to do or stop doing to get rid of this altogether? And I ended up getting a book that basically you could look up whatever ailments you were experiencing, and then it would tell you what foods to eat to help with that. And so at the time I was dealing with my cycle being really irregular, and it said, if you just eat more greens, then that should help. So I started eating more broccoli. I started eating more Brussels sprouts, just more greens in my diet. And that actually helped with helped my cycle become regular again. And so I really depended on that book for a lot of different things. And I just started healing myself. And so I was like, I don't need to keep going to these doctors for all of these medications that have all other kind of side effects when I could just eat food. I could just eat right.
Right. And I feel like that's something, especially within our communities, that I think everyone's like, go to the doctor, take your medications, but we're not realizing that a lot of this stuff, if we're not educating ourselves on what they're really doing to our bodies, we could really get ourselves messed up. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. I was like, I don't even know what's in all of these medications. It's like, what is that doing to my body? It's just I really just wanted to do a natural, I just wanted to be natural. Everything that I put in my body, I wanted it to all be completely natural, no side effects or anything like that. And I was like, the best medicine is food. And so that's when I just started to, watch different food documentaries and things like that. And there was stuff that just always stuck with me. And it just made me realize okay, these food documentaries are really breaking a lot of stuff down. And
it's like, I don't want to feed this food to my kids. I don't want to feed this food to any of my family. Like, I want to make sure that I'm actually bringing foods into this house that's going to be the best for everyone.
So along this journey then, like you're on this food journey, you're finding your health again. Did you ever think that to share it? Like, what was the catalyst moment where you're like, hey, let me put this on Instagram, or let me document this journey with others and educate others on it?
Well, it was kind of like an accountability thing, because when I decided to go on Instagram, that was probably like my third attempt of going vegan. Like, I had tried it in the past and I was like, you know what, let me just start an Instagram page, and, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and start this, and I'm going to have to be held accountable for it. You know, I'm putting it out there, and I can't go back. You know, if I'm out here talking about being a vegan, I'm really going to have to stick with it. And so that was just my way of forcing myself to actually stick with it all the way through. But the times that I tried in the past that I didn't really succeed in being vegan, it helped this time, because it's like, okay, I knew this first time when I tried, I failed at family functions. And then the next time I failed when we would go out to restaurants, or, you know, the third time I failed because I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the necessary foods in the house to, you know, continue on with my diet. So now it's like, I just plan ahead. So if I go to a restaurant, I'm looking up the menu online before I go, or I'm calling them to see, hey, do you guys have any vegan options for when I go up there? And I just kind of plan ahead. Or if they don't, then I just make sure that I eat something of my own before I go.
That's a good idea. I feel like that's something that a lot of people, like, they think that because they're choosing this way of life that they have to, I guess, give up the other things that they love, but you don't necessarily have to do that.
Yeah, you really don't. Like, and before I made this page, I actually had just a random Instagram page where I didn't post anything. And all I did was follow vegan pages just for inspiration. And I'm like, dang, like, you can still eat pancakes. You can still have macaroni and cheese. You could still have, you know, they've got all kind of meat replacers. And I'm not really too big on meat replacers right now, but there were options. You know, it was like, wow, like, people are making all kinds of things. And I know I wouldn't be starving if I went vegan. Like, I could still eat the way that I eat now, just do it in a healthier way.
So let's talk about what I'm so excited to talk about is your social media journey, because I know a lot of our dream drivers, they have these ideas, they have these communities that they want to grow, but they're stuck. They're stuck when it comes to, how do I get started? So if I'm correct, you started your Instagram, the new one, Black Vegan, January 2018, right? And in 10 months, you were able to grow to over 16,000 followers.
Yeah, I started on February 23rd.
Okay.
And yeah, and so my Instagram handle is blackvegan, blaq.vegan. And I didn't, like, when I started my page, I really didn't think it was going to pop off. I mean, I was like, nobody's going to care about what I'm eating, but I'd rather post it there, you know, instead of on Facebook, because on Facebook, I started to post like different vegan food pictures that I saw, but nobody cared. And I'm like, let me just do it on Instagram, because I could actually find other people that are into what I'm into, and they'll care, and I can talk to them.
And food is visual too.
I mean, even with that, there's some things that work better on Instagram versus Facebook. So it's just like, yeah, Facebook is like friends and family, but when you go onto Instagram, you can connect with people that are just like you. It was really helpful because I was able to follow other vegans and see what they were posting, and they would see what I'm posting, and then we would just kind of, you know, oh, okay, I saw so-and-so make this, and so she inspired me to try it out. And so now I'm going to add that into my rotation of things that I make. You know what I mean? So it was just really helpful to be able to see what other people were doing. And that's what I loved about it. It was just a way to keep me motivated, to keep me accountable, and to also continually get ideas.
So when you started out, did you know what your niche was going to be? What was your first step in figuring out a successful Instagram strategy? When
I first had the first Instagram account where I was following nothing but vegan pages, the way that I found those accounts were through hashtags. So I was like, okay, hashtag vegans of IG, hashtag vegans, hashtag black vegans, hashtag vegan food share, anything. And that's how I would find people. So I was like, okay, when I start mine, I already know what to do. I'm going to go ahead, post my picture. I know that if I post a certain brand, I need to tag them in the picture or mention them in the caption, and then use these specific hashtags so that other people can find me. I didn't set out for it to be as big as it's gotten. I really didn't think anybody cared about anything that I was posting. I'm not a cook. I don't even really like cooking. So for me to even have a page like this is really, I think people would be actually surprised because this is totally left field for me. So I didn't really have a strategy other than knowing what hashtags to use just based off of what I was looking for when I first got on Instagram, looking for other vegans.
What kind of content were you posting in those early days, though? Because something must have been working for people to engage and for your following to grow.
I think what people liked about my content was that it was colorful. So what I would do when I would go about making a meal, I was like, okay, I want to see red on my plate. I want to see green on my plate. I want to have some brown, some rice. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to do oven roasted tomatoes, some asparagus, and some brown rice or something. And then when you take a picture and it's colorful and it pops, it's going to stick out and it's going to be captivating. It's going to capture people's attention. So I think that's what it was, because even with some of the comments that people would leave, they would talk about, oh, it's so colorful and it looks so, it looks so pretty or whatever. I tried to make sure that the pictures were good, but looking back, it's like, ooh, like you was used to like flash off of your camera, off of your phone, and you really probably should have used like daylight, to get the best picture.
So, it's interesting because you said you don't even know why people, or you don't even like to cook. And so you were so surprised that people were really engaging with your page. Like, looking back though, why do you think people were so interested? Like, what do you think it was about the way that you were putting together your content that got people coming back?
Well, I personally think it's because of how I engage with people. I think that's my strong suit. I know how to talk to other people and make them feel seen. Because, when you think about it, you're on social media and you want likes, you want people to comment, you want feedback from other people. So if someone commented on one of my pictures, I'm responding back to them. And I always did that from the very beginning, because it's just like if I comment on a picture and I don't get a response from the person that posted it, it's kind of like, okay, did I just waste my time? You know what I mean? Like, everybody, even though we may not want to admit it, we all do want that, we want to be seen. So I just had a way of making people feel like, hey, I see you, and if you comment on my stuff, I'm gonna go to your page and look at what you got on your page, and I'm gonna comment on your stuff. And it was just like, by doing that, I just ended up like making all of these really great connections. And, I haven't even met half of these people, but yet I still feel like they're my friends. You know what I mean? Like, I've made really close friendships with people through Instagram, and I've never met them.
Oh, well, I feel like the same way, right? Because sometimes I think social media now allows you to really feel like you're a part of someone's life. It could be a good thing and a bad thing, but you are able to, I think digital relationships are going to be like a type of relationship that they're still real, right? They're just digital.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I like about it. And with me, like I mentioned, I'm an introvert, so I don't really like getting out. Just, at the beginning of this year, I went to San Francisco with a friend, and, it was the first time that I actually started to go out and do things. For me, and I think this is true for a lot of introverts, when you're online, you can communicate with people, but you don't have to be in person. And I don't know, it just works better for me that way. So it's like, I'm cool with people online, and I don't have to, always be out and about, because I'm not an extrovert, and it just, I don't know, I prefer to just be alone. So being online and being able to be in contact with so many different followers, that works for me, but I could never be around that many people in person.
Let's talk a little bit about the anatomy of a great Instagram post, right? So let's do a little exercise. Let's make up a fake industry. If you have one, think of one. Well,
let's just stick with vegan, just because that's one that I know.
So let's say you are a vegan food blogger, right? You're about to post on Instagram. Shauna, take us through the do's and don'ts of a great Instagram post.
You have to have like a good camera. And you can get that off of a lot of these smartphones. So I use iPhone. I think that they just have, I don't know what it is about their camera, but they just have really good photo quality. So do not post blurry pictures. You know what I mean? Like there's ways to make anything that you post look really good, but take advantage of natural light when you post a picture. Get the placement. You don't want to be all up close and personal on the plate. Come back so that you can actually see everything that's on the plate. I want to see everything that you made. So make sure that the plate is all the way in the picture and that it's in focus and that you're using natural light. So as far as the picture, that's what you want. Now for the caption, it really helps to have the recipe in there. Like if you use the recipe, it really, really helps to actually post the recipe, because that way people will want to bookmark it or they'll want to share it with other people. And then it gives them a chance to recreate what you did if they like what they see. When they do that, if they recreate something that you made, then they're probably going to give you a shout out when they post it. And so now you're getting exposure on their platform. So whatever you post, you want to make sure that it's going to not only attract followers, but it's going to keep people coming back to see what else you have to offer. So if I know that you post good recipes and you take really good photo qualities, I'm going to keep coming back to see what else you post. And that's probably going to make me want to follow you. If you just post the blurry pictures and you didn't really explain what you were putting on, what you were putting out there on your page, that doesn't really make me want to bookmark it or, recreate it or anything like that.
So what about hashtags? And like, should you put stuff in the first comment? You know how sometimes I see that, like wait to put the hashtags in the first comment, or what's your thought on that?
I always put the hashtags within the caption, and I actually touched on this in the course that I did called Thrive on IG. I looked around on different articles and from what I saw, it's always best to put the hashtags within the caption. I think people put it in the comment because it looks more aesthetically pleasing. Instead of having a whole bunch of hashtags within your caption, they would rather put it in the comment. But I think the way that the algorithm works is that you want the hashtags in the picture to work together at the same time.
What's your take on Instagram Insights? I know if you have a business profile page, you're able to see lots of things about your audience and the best times to post. Do you use those? And do you think people should actually adhere to what Instagram is advising?
Yeah, definitely. That is something that I also talk about in the course. Like, go ahead and switch over to the business profile, because you're missing out on so many different analytics that you could be looking at. Like, you don't know how many people are bookmarking your posts. Like, when I first switched over to the business profile and I started looking at my posts, I'm like, oh my gosh, 45 people bookmarked this. I didn't think anybody was going to bookmark this, but they did. Mm-hmm. Or, how come 20 people bookmarked this post, but yet 200 people bookmarked this? What did I do different in this post compared to the other one to make people want to bookmark it more? And that was one of the things that I noticed. When I posted a recipe, more people would bookmark it, more people would share it. And so it's really helpful to see. And then you can see the times that most of your followers are on. So like, you used to be able to look at each individual day and see the times that most people were on. So like for me, my audience is on the most around 6 p.m. So I would try to post at that time, because that's going to increase your reach and your impressions when more people can see your post, versus posting it at maybe midnight when, maybe only 1,000 people are on. But if I post at 6 p.m., well, over 6,000 people are on at that time. So it would make more sense for me to post when more people are on. And you won't know any of that unless you switch over to the business profile to be able to look at your analytics.
And it is super helpful. Like, they have locations, they have your age range, they have your gender, your followers. And I think it also helps when you're trying to create content, right? So I know my audience is 73% women, 27% men. It also helps you figure out, okay, maybe tailor it towards women or tailor it towards people who are, like, my biggest age range is 25 to 34. And then there's my 35 to 44 year old. So knowing your audience for me has been really, really helpful as well.
Yeah, because even though I live in Kansas City, The top two cities that my audience lives in is Atlanta and New York.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm New York and Newark.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like I would have never known that. So if I wanted to do a meetup or a meet and greet or something like that, it wouldn't make any sense for me to do it in Kansas City where I don't really have that many followers. It would probably be best for me to go to Atlanta or New York where most of my followers reside. So I wouldn't have known that, though, if I didn't have access to those analytics.
What's your take on, social media ads? Because I think the big thing here is we're doing this on Instagram so that we can engage with our audience and hopefully build our audience so that, the bigger audiences we have, the more people that we can impact, and hopefully that can drive our businesses. So do you think that investing in social media ads is good as well when you're trying to grow your brand online?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. I tried doing an ad like once, and I only did it for like an hour, and I didn't really see much of a difference. I'm like, I don't want to pay for this. So I could do better on my own. So I haven't really used the ads, but I do think like once especially when I start promoting this course more, I probably will go ahead and invest in ads because I see all these different sponsored posts, and, it's a great way to get exposure to other people that maybe you haven't reached yet. So if you want to do ads, I think that's a great thing to do. If you're selling something, I think that's an excellent thing to do.
So what if you're doing all this, you're taking all these tips into account, and your following still isn't growing? What's probably the matter?
I feel like if you know how to engage with your audience, you can sit up here and post all of the curated content that you want. You can make your page look really perfect and pretty and everything. But if they don't know you, then it's going to be really hard to continually build your following. You know what I mean? Like it's like, what I've noticed is that people feel like they know me. Like a lot of times people are like, girl, I feel like we would be best friends if I knew you in person. Like, I feel like we're besties. And it's like people have shared really intimate things with me, like in the DMs and stuff. And it just blows my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know this person, but they're sharing this with me by me talking to them, like actually having a conversation with them. I do that in the DMs. There might come a time where it might get overwhelming and I can't get to everybody. But right now I do that. I take the time and respond to everyone and just have a real conversation with them. Like, I don't feel like I need to shy away from that. I feel like that helps you. You know what I mean? When people feel like they can actually reach you and talk to you, that's what's going to build a loyal following. So I think if you're doing everything right, you're posting all these beautiful pictures and everything, and your page still isn't really popping the way that you want it to, you might want to think about your engagement. Is your engagement as high as it should be? Are you commenting on other people's posts? Are you interactive with other people's Instagram stories? Or are you just expecting everyone to come to your page, like everything and comment on everything that you do, but you're not doing the same in return? You know what I mean? How else can you be seen? How else can you get noticed? Like, you have to just get creative with things. And even with me, I'm at a stage where, this past month while I was doing my course, I haven't been posting in my feed as much as I want to, but I also knew that I was going to step it up this year. Like, it's like, okay, it's 2019. How can you do things different? How can you go even further with this? How can you improve your meals? How can you improve your Instagram stories? Should you go live? Should you do some kind of question and answer sessions or something? What else can you do to take it a step further? And I think that there's always room for improvement. You just have to figure out where that is. Like, one of my followers, she posted a video for the first time in her Instagram stories. And I was like, how come you haven't been doing this, girl? You have a beautiful voice. Like, you're so personable. You are natural at this. Like, for me, I get really nervous and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Like, that's why I haven't done an Instagram live yet, because I just get really nervous. Like I said,
I feel you in that one. I'm like the same way too. Although I talk all the time, every week people hear me. I think it's different when you add the video component in, so people are seeing you and hearing you at the same time. So I definitely feel you in that.
Yeah, it's like, I want to make sure my hair is done. I want to make sure my face is beat. I don't want to just get on there looking crazy. Like, I want to make sure that, it's just, I don't know. It's a big deal. And then if you go live, you can't really control the comments that come in, and it's like everybody's seeing it. And so
I like to do Instagram stories. I think everybody should try this at least once, is do an Ask Me Anything in their Instagram stories. Basically what that is you can go into your Instagram stories, you can upload a video or a picture, and then you can choose the option to have people ask you a question. I feel like when I did that, that was a really pivotal moment for me, because I didn't expect anyone to actually ask me anything, but the questions kept coming in and I kept getting all these crazy questions. I was like, oh my gosh. And it's funny to watch other people's as well, because people ask some crazy stuff. People are really like doing the absolute most on these questions, on these Ask Me Anything questions. And it's funny to see how the person behind the page handles it. And so you can kind of get insight into their personality when you do that. So putting yourself out there and letting people see your face, letting people hear your voice, letting people kind of just get like a little bit of a piece of you. I think that helps. It just helps build a connection that you otherwise wouldn't get if all you're doing is just posting pictures.
So as you were speaking, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put this advice into play. And I just posted to Ask Me Anything. So let's see if by the end, I'm like, let me try. Because one of the biggest things is, and this is where I think we all have our strengths as online creators, right? We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. I love social media, but then sometimes I feel like, I've been doing this thing for almost 3 years. And it's like, why do I only have 5,000 social media followers? So that's been my big hiccup. But at the same time, I think, I can't compare myself to other people. But one of the big things for me is knowing that social media is important, but then always trying to refine. So that's been the biggest thing. It's like, do I need to grow? And if I grew with the podcast grow, but I feel like I'm posting, but I don't know if I'm engaging with people. So there's always these things that are running through my mind.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, if you have 5,000 followers, you still got a podcast though.
Yeah, that's true.
You got a podcast. You interviewed Jennifer Lewis. Like you're good. You know what I mean? So that number, I think is funny because that number, I think, represents something to people that it doesn't have to. I think it's great to be able to grow your following, and it's great if you want to start, a business, or you're trying to sell something and monetize and things like that. Like I'm trying to go through all the steps of getting sponsored and doing all of that, but I have to learn how to pitch myself to brands. I have to learn how to sign up for these campaigns and get seen in that world. I got all these followers, but I'm just now starting to monetize. And this happened kind of quick, but you're doing way better as far as, as far as I'm concerned. So I might have 16,000 followers and you might have 5,000, but you're interviewing all kinds of celebrities. You are established. That's why I was intimidated to even come on the show. I pitched myself.
You know what? I think that also goes to show the bigger thing here, which is you have to know your goals, right? And everybody's goals and everyone's journey is different. So let's say right now you have the followers and that's your base. And I think everyone builds their base differently. So for me, it was building the podcast base, and the social media was an extension of that. But when it comes to the podcast, I'm good. But for you, it's all right. I'm building my social media base because that's going to be the foundation for which I then can flourish and build other things. So it's another reminder that we all have unique paths to the end line, right? And there's never an end line because we always can grow from wherever we are. So I really like that you put that in perspective for me. So I think it's something that we all need to think about. But Shauna, one of the things I'm wondering now, so at what point along this journey did you realize that, hey, I can monetize my following and develop a business from this passion and this lifestyle of mine? And what were the steps that you took to then put that into action?
Yeah, because when I, like I said, when I started, I didn't expect to monetize. I really didn't think anyone would even notice my page. But as my page grew, people would ask me hey, do you sell meal plans? Hey, do you have a transition kit? Do you have an ebook? Or people were asking for products, and I didn't have anything to sell. Somebody actually, they sent me a DM and they asked me about meal plans, and I was like, no, I don't do it, but this person does. And they're like, no, I want you to do it though. I'll wait.
and I'm just like, oh, okay. So it just let me know, like, okay, you have all of these followers, but what are you going to do with them? You know what I mean? What are you going to do with that number? And so it's like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity. This is something that you're actually good at. So this is something that you're passionate about. You do it all the time. You're on Instagram all the time. You may as well try to package this. And like one of the questions that people always ask me was, how did you get your following to grow? How did, and there's all kind of people that have courses on this. I make sure that I don't follow those pages because I don't want to be influenced in any way. I just want to stay true to what worked for me. So I was like, I'm just going to lay it all out. I'm going to go ahead and just put step by step all of the things that I personally do to, and have done to grow my following. And I just packaged it into a course and put it out there. So that was my first thing that I'm actually monetizing. I was talking to my husband today. I was like, oh my God, I'm monetizing. I'm finally doing something where I'm making money and I'm doing it on this platform. And what's funny was, back when I was listening to your podcast at the very beginning, I started to write out what my passions were. Like, what do I like? And so health and fitness, locks, those were all the things that I really enjoy looking into and reading about and researching on. And so I'm kind of doing all of that. I'm a brand ambassador for Dr. Locks. So I'm doing something with Locks with that. I'm posting about vegan food. So there goes the nutrition. I still have to learn like micros and macros and all that kind of stuff. And the whole nutrition breakdown, I still have to figure out all that, but I'm in the health world. And then I also have my fitness page, my Black Vegan Fitness page. I want to get better at working out in the gym and getting stronger and all of that. So it's just like I'm kind of packaging everything that I wanted to do through Instagram.
What has been a challenge that you've encountered along this journey though? Like, because I feel like it's been a year and this has all happened so quickly. And for some people, this may have taken them years to develop this whole following and then monetizing it. Was something that for you has been difficult to handle, and how are you navigating it?
The startup, you know what I mean? Like when I listen to different podcasts and I'm hearing all of these different women and men that are very successful in their fields. I mean, they are making money. They can actually just do whatever they're passionate about and they have the actual business. And it's just like, I still have to learn all the legal aspects. I still have to learn, the taxes and just all the do's and don'ts that you can do and that you can't do. And just, it's a whole different world. It's totally different from a 9-to-5. And I'm at the point where I'm just starting. And so there's so many unanswered questions that I have. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of been always what's held me back, is because I feel like I'm taking a risk by doing something like this. It's like, okay, if I ever do have my own business and if I ever do become, if my page grows even more and I'm able to do more on Instagram and monetize and make money to where I don't have to work a 9-to-5, what's that going to look like? I don't know. Like, I don't know all of those steps right now. And so that's been difficult for me. And it's scary, but for 2019, I was like, I'm not going to let any of these fears hold me back. I'm just going to learn whatever I don't know and then put it into action and move forward.
Isn't it exciting though? Like, just the fact of diving in and going with the flow of where life takes you once you're committed to the vision.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you had the podcast that you did where you were talking about you quit your job and you were talking with your friend. I was like, oh my gosh. Like I like that because it was just like, okay, I'm seeing the emotions that she's feeling. Like I'm looking at her on this podcast and I'm like, oh my God, it's Raina Campbell. But she still has these feelings, like the same things that I feel, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, it's normal to feel like that. But to see you and other people that are in this space keep going and not letting any of those doubts or fears stop you, I think that's just like, it's really exciting because it's like there's this big hill that might be in front of you, but when you go over it, there's so much more that you can't even see. And it's just like, I just want to keep going to the finish line. Like, let me continue on instead of holding myself back. And let me see what happens when I do that instead of just, being stagnant and fearful all my life.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, when you were saying that, the image that popped into my head, and I don't know why this popped into my head, but I imagine Beyonce, right? Like, the walk up, you know, behind the scenes. She's walking to, like, the behind the concerts, right? And she's probably nervous. She's with her team. They're doing their, like, little pre-concert rituals. And I feel like everybody has those 5-second jitters right before the curtain opens, right? But once the curtain opens, what are you going to do?
Right. You just have to deliver it.
You know, Beyonce can't just stand there and looking at the crowd like, we're going to be like, yo, we want our money back. So I think it really goes into not saying fake it until you make it, but feeling the feelings when they happen, feeling that fear, and doing it anyway. And just know that, like, I just love you, like, really talking about that, because I feel like you're gonna feel like it. You're gonna feel the doubt. You're gonna feel the fear. And it's like this, so what? So what are you gonna do? You're gonna still do it anyway. That's been the biggest theme I know along my own journey. And I'm sensing along yours too, is really doing it anyway. And I'm so proud of just all that you've accomplished. Just even by you sending me a preview of your course, I'm like, yo, this is really nice, guys. Definitely check it out.
Thank you.
You know, for someone who's just started, it shows that if you put your mind to it, anything's possible.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I'm the queen of self-sabotage. And so I was like, I'm not doing that this time. Like, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I have something, like, there's something there. Like, like I was saying at the beginning, there was a lot of things that I didn't know. Like, I didn't always know what my strengths were, but I'm finding it out as I'm going along this journey. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, I'm not, engagement is one of them. I really feel like I have this way of being able to connect with people one-on-one. So I feel like that's one of my biggest strengths. I know how to communicate with people and engage with them. And I feel like I'm really good at being able to connect with people and establish a one-on-one connection with people and making people feel seen. And it's like, I feel like when I'm saying that, it doesn't feel like that's much, but it obviously is a lot, because there's so many people that be like, oh, girl, you inspired me. You inspired me to make this meal, or you inspired me to get back into the gym, or you inspired me to do this or that. And it's just like, I'm over here feeling regular all the time, but people are out here like constantly doing Instagram stories, shouting me out, saying I was an inspiration to them. And so it's like, there is something with that. Like, I may not know how to, like, I'm in the process of learning how to package it and present it in a way to where I can monetize off of it or use it to my advantage. But yeah, like, I'm just still learning right now. I'm still learning all of this stuff. Like, I was a person that kind of, you know, put myself down a lot, and I'm trying to get out of that and to see all the good things about myself. And so it's really just a journey. Like, it's just a journey. I'm figuring out my different passions. I'm figuring out my different strengths as I go along. So.
Oh my gosh. As you said that was actually, I'm so sorry. I get so caught up in my interview sometimes. I'm looking at my notes, and I actually have it right here where I wanted to ask you about your journey, and we might have to weave that back. I might have to edit that back early in, but would you mind talking about that? Because I think it's something that we don't talk about a lot, right? Is this idea of, you know, having food disorders and battling depression and really navigating that and finding yourself at the end.
I went through a really dark phase. I mean, it was just like, I just can't even really describe how dark it was. It was just a very dark time, and I was very depressed. And I did an Instagram TV video about how I used to binge and purge, and then I navigated over to laxatives. And I just had, like, I realized, like, as I was doing these things, and I had to stop myself and say, okay, why are you doing this? Why are you overeating? Why are you harming yourself like this? You know, like, I had to check myself and say, okay, there's something that you don't like about yourself that is causing you to do these things. And I just realized I was just really depressed, and I had so many, like, negative thoughts just running through my head, and just like a lot of negative self-talk, just a lot of, you can't do this, or you'll never be good at this, or I just didn't see myself in a positive light. And I had to get to the point where I had to remove all sources of negativity. Like I had to get rid of what, like, people are talking about the R. Kelly thing right now. I can't.
Me
I
either. I'm like,
that.
listen, I'll take the social media recaps, but you have to know your limits. You have to know what you can tolerate and what you can't. Not tolerate, but you know what you can ingest.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I had to just get rid of all of that. And so during the period of time where I started, listening to your podcast and the other podcasts I would listen to, I was like, I'm not going to read anything. I'm not going to watch anything. I'm not going to listen to anything unless it's self-help, unless it's business oriented, financial, or something that's going to better myself. That's the only thing that I'm going to intake. And I did that for over a year. I stayed off of social media at the time. I didn't want to see what anybody else was going through. I didn't want to intake any of their happy or sad or mad moments. I just had to get to myself. And so when I started analyzing all of these things that I was doing, it was like, girl, you really need to get it together. Like, why do you think this? Where did this thought come from? So every single negative thought that I had, I would have to stop and say, okay, where did this come from? Why do you believe this? Who told you this lie? Why are you believing this lie? Mm-hmm. And when I would think about it, it's like, okay, this isn't true because that this and this are true. And these are all positive things. So when I started focusing on the multiple positive things, it was really easy to eliminate that one negative thing. And I had to I took that time to really do that for every single negative comment that I would have. And I still do that to this day. Anytime a negative thought would come into my mind, I have to stop it and I have to address it and I have to replace it with several positive ones. And that's what's helped me to be able to put myself out there publicly on social media and do a course and, have all kinds of people see it and be exposed to all kinds of different opinions. And they might be good and they might be bad, But now I know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that, because I feel like when we're thinking about wealth, right, a lot of dream drivers may be pursuing some definition of the word wealth. And I read this quote the other day, and it was like the greatest, I can't remember the quote. The quote was basically saying the greatest wealth is in our health, right? Mm-hmm. And how that really stems and allows you to really function in every part of your life. So you mastering yourself, it always goes back to that, right? You can't, like they say, you can't want to get married and you're not, like, you wouldn't want to be married to you, right? So it's kind of like you have to master yourself, and all those other parts of your being can flourish as well. What do you think has been the hardest part of balancing it all? So you mentioned earlier you have a 9-to-5, you're a mom. It's like, how do you stay balanced with all these things that you're working on?
Well, that is a huge struggle. I mean, It is a struggle. And thankfully, my husband is there and he's very, very helpful. And so during this past month, I've been really dependent on him to help me with, I have a 2-year-old and she's full tantrum mode right now. And it's like, okay, I have to be able to finish. It's like, I have to finish this course. I have to get all this stuff done. He's been taking care of her while I'm able to work on the things that I need to work on. Mm-hmm. But it's still important. My kids are number one. I have to make sure that I spend time with them, and so I make that a priority. But it's like something is going to lack. I can't possibly do everything. So maybe all the laundry doesn't get done this week, or maybe maybe something doesn't get done. But are my kids good? Am I healthy? Am I good? Am I thinking positively? Am I making progress and making steps to all the goals that I want to reach? And if I'm doing that and everybody in my household is happy, then I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to just deal with that. And then the rest I can figure out later. But, just always trying to make progress somewhere. That's basically how I've been handling it so far.
So what's next for Shauna? What are you excited about? You're full steam ahead. You're in drive mode. Where are you going next?
Girl, I don't know, but I know that
this is so real though, because we don't always know. Like, sometimes it's hard to answer that question. I've even considered, like, is it right to always ask people what's next? Because sometimes you don't know.
But no, it's cool, because I think it's good to ask that question, because I may not know what's next, but it's like every day something else happens. You know what I mean? Like, that's one of the crazy things about being on Instagram is, like after I finished my course, it's like, okay, I'm done, you know, and then I got my website up. I finally got blackvegan.com up. And so I was like, okay, good. I did it. Like, those were the two big, huge things that I needed to get out of the way. But then it's like, people will start asking you to, hey, can you do an interview here? Hey, can you talk about fitness on this article that we have? Or like, things keep coming in. So if I'm here now, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like, you know, by the end of the year. So I may not know exactly, but I'm going to take it step by step, and I'm going to have goals. Like, I'm going to at least, and I still haven't done it yet. I meant to do it at the very beginning of the year, but I'm going to sit down and write out what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then once I have that written down, it's like, okay, what are the steps that you need to take to actually get there? So it's no more like, if I have a big goal, I'm not thinking of it like I can't get there. I'm going to think of it like, okay, what are the steps that I need to do to get there? Mm-hmm. So I think it's just about writing it out, you know, always being a few steps ahead of yourself. So like, I did this course, but I still want to do other courses. I don't know what the courses are going to be, but now I know how to do them, and it's going to be easier for me to start doing courses more courses in the future. So definitely more courses. I know that. I am planning to go to Atlanta this year. I want to go to Slutty Vegan. I want to try out those burgers.
They pitched me the other day. I was like, I wish I was in Atlanta, because I would want to taste these burgers. I'm not vegan, but I do eat healthy, but it's just like, I would love to taste how a Slutty Vegan burger tastes.
Girl, I want to eat that burger so bad. I don't even care. Like, I've been seeing them for the longest, and just seeing how they've grown. Like, that's so inspirational to me. So yeah, I'm going. And like, I want to go with another vegan. You know, I talked to one of my friends. We're planning on going, and it's just like, people don't understand the excitement of going to a vegan restaurant, because like where I'm at, there's 4 vegan restaurants in my city. You know, a lot of times when I go to other restaurants, there's not many options for vegans. And so to be able to find one where you can get anything off the menu and you're going to be good, like, that's really exciting to me. So I do want to go to Atlanta. I do want to eventually do some kind of meet and greet, maybe on a small level, but, you know, just to kind of get my feet wet and, you know, expose myself a little bit more. Instead of being so introverted, I want to try to, you know, connect face to face with people. So that's one of the big things, is going to Atlanta and meeting up with some of my followers, and going to Slutty Vegan. I have to do that this year.
What tips would you have for dream drivers who are, you know, in this early stage of the journey, such as yourself?
Seek out advice from other people. Like, behind the scenes, there's so many people that I've been texting and DMing, and, you know, I'm seeing people that are really great in their field of work. And like, one of my friends, his name is Najee Kelly, and he has a page called Mogul Body. And he is always doing something. He's always putting out an ebook. He's got a fitness program. He's always doing something, and he's very business oriented. So I ask him a lot of questions. You know, one of my friends, Brown Vegan, she's got a phenomenal Instagram page, and she does podcasts, and she does a lot of different things. And so I ask her different tips, because she's been in the game. She has a YouTube account. She's been on social media. She's done interviews on TV. Like, she's familiar with this world that I'm trying to get in. So I see questions from people that I've seen do it and that are doing it well. So that's where I'm at. I'm seeking counsel and advice from people that I know are well versed in their field.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to, I think with you're a perfect example of don't being afraid to pitch yourself for different opportunities, right? Because you never know who would say yes. And I always tell myself, like, you sometimes just have to, like, you never know what you don't know. And if you put a limit on what you can do just because you're quote unquote new, right? you're holding yourself back. Like, there's so many things in my first year of Dreams and Drive that, you know, I probably shouldn't have tried to like pitch these people for my guests. I mean, to be a guest on my show, but why not? Who wrote the rules? We write the rules. You write the rules, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, that was actually one of the things. Like, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and pitch myself to her. Like, the worst that could happen is she could say no, but at least I did it. You know what I mean? So that was actually a big step for me to do that. So I didn't expect you to actually respond back. I just thought
it was a good pitch. It was good.
Thank you.
I respond to good pitches.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, you know, but I did think that I was like, oh my gosh, she's interviewed all of these people, and, you know, why would she want to talk to me, you know? But I was like, you know what? I'm at the very beginning stages. Like, people are seeing me start from scratch. Like, you're seeing somebody working a 9 to 5 and then taking the steps to become an entrepreneur. Like, I'm doing it. I'm making all the mistakes in the process, and I'm learning from them as I go. And, you know, I'm going to learn. I'm going to turn those L's into lessons. So, yeah.
So, Shauna, what's the question you have for me? I know I didn't plan for this, but, like, you know, we're here now. Like, do you have a question that you think other people could learn from as well, if you ask me?
I don't know. Like, I wonder how you are able to stay so consistent. Like, even through the times that you have doubt, like, how have you done it? Like, the whole steps of just like deciding that you're going to do a podcast and then being able to interview such huge people. Like, I just don't even know how that even happened. So I'm curious as to how you went about that and how you felt confident enough in how you executed everything.
I remember, I think it goes back to like when I used to, so kind of like you, I've done like blogging before. I've done interviewing before. So after college, you know, I was writing for Madame Noir. I was writing for their site, you know, interviewing entrepreneurs under the Madame Noir name. I was doing stuff for my own blog, but I just wasn't really seeing results. Like, I had this deep down feeling that my interviews were good, but nobody was seeing them, right? And it kind of was making me mad. I'm like, why is nobody seeing it? Why is like my page, nobody coming to it? Of course, people were coming to the Madame Noir interviews, but like it didn't belong to me. So like it wasn't like people were giving me the credit. So it was kind of some ego driving it a little bit. But at the same time, it's like I feel like I could get people to open up, and I wanted more people to hear these stories. And so it really was me in the beginning saying like, what would happen if I just showed up for myself every week, right? Like,
yeah.
when you watch your favorite TV show, you trust that it's going to be there next week, right? Like, you know, when I'm watching Game of Thrones, I know HBO was going to have it, you know, queued up in the queue for next Sunday when it's time to watch it again. So I told myself, the people who are winning are the people who are consistent. And if I'm so tired of not quote unquote winning, not feeling like my work was growing, then there must be something wrong with the equation. And I don't know, I think in the beginning it was just me being like, you know, like fighting against myself, to like putting this pressure on myself. And then I think it just became a routine. So like for me, it's like brushing my teeth in the morning. Like, I got to get this podcast out every Monday. I made it part of my life, and I made it like part of my lifestyle, so that it just became like, when you think of Raina, when I think of me and I think of all the things that I have to do, it's like, all right, Monday is the day your podcast is released. It doesn't matter what happens during the week, but you know, Monday it better come up. And I think because I started to see the results, I realized that me being consistent was connected to those results. So if I broke that part of the equation, I'm going to break the part of the results that I wanted. I think it became not obsession, but realizing that there was routine. And then at the same time, I think what scares people about being consistent is that you think it's something that can't be done or that it's difficult. But when you make processes up, it becomes so easy. Like for me, podcasting or editing and getting it out isn't stressful because I have the processes. I know what has to be done for every episode. So I'm actually now in the phase where I need to shake things up a little bit because I think I've gotten so used to routine. But I think it's just like, you know, having this drive and this desire early on. And also it was believing that my content was good and believing that I didn't necessarily have to have like a name behind me in order to build something, because I think about like all the great platforms, like look at Facebook, look at even Instagram itself. In the beginning, nobody was paying them any mind. They're like, wait, what? What's Instagram? Like, I'm still on Facebook, right? But then it became something that people couldn't live without. But imagine if the Instagram founders had given up on it. And so I just always feel like if I give up on it, I'm like giving up on the possibility that it might just turn into something big. And it's scary, but I think that's what's holding me and keeping me going. And also just, you know, I tell myself, like, I want people to see me as legit. Like, I was just complaining to one of my friends today, like, you know, somebody asked me something and I just... without giving too much away, basically somebody asked me something that I felt they only asked because they didn't take me seriously, and it has to do with the podcast. And I just thought if this was a bigger platform, you would have never wanted me to do this, right? So it's just like, I keep telling myself, if I take myself seriously, other people have to take me seriously as well. So in my head, I'm already a big podcast. I'm a big podcast now, but in my head, I'm winning.
Yeah. And that's something like, that's why I feel like it's important. Like if something has motivated me or inspired me in any way, like just even putting the Thrive on IG course together, I know how difficult it is. Like I know how much hard work goes into that. And so I'm already thinking like, okay, I edited these videos, but I can't imagine what the process is for you editing like a longer podcast and always doing that.
It's fun. To me, it's fun. It's also like, I think I just like it so much that it's that part of the process is fun to me. So yeah, it's like, you know, finding what you like. And you know, if I didn't like podcast editing, I probably would have outsourced it a long time ago. But it's just the part of the process to me that is the most calming and relaxing. I actually hate the part of like thinking of show titles and doing the show notes. Like that's not what I love. I really love sitting with the story and crafting the story. So I think it's also making sure at least some part of what you're doing is tied to a personal passion of yours. Because if I didn't like listening to people talk about themselves and share their stories, this would be the hardest job ever. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, well, I just think that you've done an incredible job. Like, I mean, I know you probably do all this work and like at the beginning, maybe you weren't really hearing it, but I know that there's definitely other people that feel the same way. And, you know, so thank you for having your podcast because it was very motivational for me just hearing so many other people actually do other things outside of a 9-to-5. It's like, oh my God, what are the possibilities for me? You know, so I'm just appreciative of that. Yeah.
So let's go into our lightning round, Shauna. So this part of the interview, I'm going to give you a prompt and I want you to just tell me the first word that comes to mind. And remember, we're sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor. Okay?
Okay.
All right. The first word is park.
Fear.
Reverse.
Doubt.
Neutral.
Stagnant.
Drive.
Determined.
I like that. And if you want to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So, Shauna, tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
You know, again, determination, just having a passion for something, like knowing what your passion is. And then if you love doing something so much, you know, whether you get paid for it or not, it's not going to feel like work. So having a passion for something, I think is definitely a key.
Thank you so much, Shauna. Can you tell our dream drivers where they can find you online, if they want to connect with you, if they want to check out your Instagram course, all that good stuff?
You can find me on Instagram at black.vegan, blaq.vegan. And you can also find me on Facebook at Black Vegan blaq.vegan, and Thrive on IG. And then I also have a fitness page if you're interested in that, blaqvegan.fitness.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. One last question, Shauna. This is a random question, but I want to ask it to you. What does being a dream driver mean to you?
Being a dream driver means, for me, just eliminating all fear and all self-doubt that you have and pursuing whatever it is that you want to pursue without sabotaging yourself. Like, just actually allowing yourself to think good things. Like, instead of thinking I might fail, think, what if I win? You know, what's going to happen if I actually accomplish this goal, show up for myself, and do all the things that I want to do? What's that going to look like? And I think that's what I think when I think of a dream driver.
All right, so that's a wrap for episode 197 with Shauna. I hope you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. And if you love this episode, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Please stop what you're doing and share this with a friend. Pass this on to somebody who you think can benefit from all the knowledge that Shauna shared with us today. I especially love it when you guys are sharing on Instagram stories, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want to do, screenshot and share away. Also, make sure that you are following us on social. We are Dreams in Drive across the board, and you can use the hashtag Dreams in Drive as well. We didn't mention in the episode, but if you want to check out and join Shauna's course, visit thriveonig.com. That's thriveonig.com. I had the chance to preview the course, and I think it's really insightful and really helpful, especially if you want to find out ways that you can grow your Instagram and engage with your audience. So make sure you go to thriveonig.com to learn more about Shauna's course. And guess what? If you want to get 15% off Shauna's course, just use the code DREAM15 at checkout. I'm going to say this again. I am so appreciative of all that you do each week, but there's one thing that I could really, really use your help on. Ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. The more ratings, the more reviews we have, the higher we are on Apple's algorithm, and we can reach more people and more people can know about the show. So if you love Dreams and Drive, if you had a good experience, go on over to the podcast app or iTunes, search Dreams and Drive, click on write a review, and let other people know what you love about the show. I am so appreciative of all the reviews we currently have, but I know we could get more. So please, please help me out. So I'm going to be announcing something special in the next few weeks, but I'm only going to tell people who are on the Dreams and Drive weekly newsletter the keys first. So if you want to hear about this something special that is happening, please visit dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join, JOIN, in order to sign up for the email list and get notified first. Hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing from a dream driver who is currently on the hustle, currently dream driving. And a lot of you guys who may be in this position, who may be just starting out, realize that Shauna is an example of somebody who didn't have all the answers, but she got started. And guess what? She grew faster than she even expected. So don't ever limit yourself, and don't ever think small, because there is so much on the other side once you commit to starting. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 198. Bye, guys.